Hey guys, how's it going? So, Monster Hunter World. Released on the 26th of January, I told myself, nope, wait for the PC version. I'm a PC gamer at heart, let's wait for that. In February, I told myself, come on now, it's not that hard to wait, is it? And in March, I went and bought a copy for console, because my patience is brilliant. Anyway, now that I have a copy in hand, and it's been out for around about the 3 months mark, let's have a look and see if it's still good after the hype. This generation of Hunter is 8th in line of the Monster Hunters produced by Capcom, and the first to make it to console since the original on PS2. If memory serves, when this comes to PC later this year, this iteration will be the first time Monster Hunter has ever been on PC, not including the days of streaming your PSP to your monitor, which were, well, it wasn't the best in terms of results, was it? At this juncture, I have sunk several hours in, and I have forgotten some of the points I intended to make for the video. Usually it's not so bad and I make notes as I go, but in this case I was so heavily caught up in what I was doing I completely forgot to make them. Combine that with the sheer wealth of things to do and get lost in, well, where do I begin? When you start the game, there is the usual intro type cinematic to get you pumped for the adventure ahead. It offers more interaction than usual, as this time the character creation is baked into the scene rather than something you do after the fact. If you have no previous experience with a Monster Hunter, then this may just seem like your run-of-the-mill intro, but for returning hunters you will know the sheer size of the things at hand. The level of interaction with the entire intro process feels about right, it doesn't drag on, and at no periods of prolonged hand-holding either. It brings you into the world that has been created at just the right pace. Once again, I'm having to put myself into the position of a seasoned hunter and a new player at the same time, as what seems par for the course to a returning player might seem overwhelming to a new one. I would say the information comes at you a little bit heavy for a new player. The sheer volume of things you can do might slap you in the face like a brick wall, but there are enough reminders and nudges towards the important stuff that I would say not to worry about it. It all starts flowing nicely in no time. For the returning players, much of what you are being told feels familiar, and barring a few tweaks to things here or there, it's mostly more of the same that you are used to, albeit this time it just feels more grand and integral. I have played countless hours of Monster Hunter games over the years, and I have to say, I feel as though this is just the right balance of look, new stuff, and okay, we'll talk about this later, blah blah blah. I think the right balance has been achieved. After a decent chunk of poking around, you're out in the field and ready to take on your first hunt, which brings me nicely to my next point of conversation, the world. What a beautifully crafted, intricate, detailed set of maps Monster Hunter World has. The depth to them is something that will take 15 or more missions to fully realise. Gone are the loading screens between zones, and the fluidity this offers is felt immediately to those of us who are used to the small load time between zones. Things to be found at every turn, and with every turn I find myself eager to look and see what there was. It felt as though I was trying to see the whole thing at once, and that's simply not possible. To put it in other terms, I spent most of my first 2 to 3 hours game time simply wandering around and picking everything up, looking at footprints and taking scrapings of things, generally feeling really happy with how well the zones have been done and how good they feel to play in. There are new systems in place for certain things. Scout flies make a great example. Just having them point you out to things can sink huge chunks of time away as you go after the potential treasures of the land. Highlighting the way while also hovering around objects of interest, just this one feature alone feels fantastic, and it is one of the many things that makes this game feel extremely good. There are more, so many more changes here and there. Some small, some larger, but I'm not going to spend the entire review talking about them. Besides, I don't want to tell you guys everything, half the fun is finding out for yourself. Each zone seems to be alive and working all on its own. When you enter into it, it feels as though you're entering into the existing ecosystem rather than things just being there because you are. One of my earlier explorations saw me encounter a Rathalos, entirely by accident, and I made the decision to fight him. Halfway in, a Rathian turned up and joined in, which was interesting. I carried on anyway and took her tail before she left. The Rathalos led me on a merry chase throughout the zones, occasionally stopping to fight other species that called the environment home, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. It was a simple exploration. I was originally out looking for herbs and honey, and the entire event unfolded organically and completely by accident. The fact that the beasts have their own like and dislike list is epic, and the things coming or going as they please really does go a huge way to making each trip out feel as though you're entering into a living world, which is quite fantastic if you think about it. Right, we've mentioned the fighting, let's talk a little bit about that. It's good. It's really good. In comparison to the other Monster Hunter games, it's the same, but enhanced. Most of the moves you have, the combos, the abilities, they feel mostly the same as they did, but with flares and additions. The animations have been upgraded and it all just flows so convincingly well together. In comparison to other games with similar combat, this right here is how it should be done. It feels as though they've been more generous with the hitboxes this time, specifically when it comes to evading and rolling. Some things I felt I should have gotten hit by, but I didn't. So I guess you could consider that a negative as a returning player. But at the same time, the pace feels great and extremely fluid to interact with, so I can completely forgive that for the feeling it offers. All the weapon choices feel excellent unto themselves. Some I don't personally enjoy, but that's a playstyle choice and nothing to do with the game itself. I had my concerns from what I had heard, specifically regarding dual blades and the lack of a means to have a short window of infinite stamina. These fears were immediately set aside once I began playing. The stamina degradation is well paced and it allows you to get your dual bladed groove on for a good portion of time without feeling weak or overpowered. The more I dig into this game, the more I find that I like. Finally then, I guess we should talk about all the miscellaneous bits. Crafting has been upgraded in a few awesome ways. Weapon trees are now visible and you can see where you want to go and if you needed to bring another weapon along to the same tree to make a different branch. For me, as someone who likes to feel he has all of the endgame weapons of a certain type, long swords and duels predominantly, this is a massive help. Gone are the days of lists, piles of A4 paper working out, okay, so I need to go this and then I make that and take that. You know what I'm saying, right? Armors are shown by monster and it seems fairly comprehensive to look at. Overall, this new layout is great. I'm really enjoying it. The slinger is kind of cool too, to be honest. Capturing the smaller creatures with the net that you can then display in your home. That's a nice touch that they've added. The quicker climbing up the walls, being able to lasso yourself back onto the back of a monster, launch things out of them. You know, being able to say, hey bish, get back here, to a creature that's limping away because you launched something out the back of them. It's just good. Your guild hall is not a thing anymore. All the quests are all the quests. At first I was slightly sad about it, but I quickly started to enjoy the vibe. It feels like you're still involved and less of like a, okay, story done, let's rinse and repeat the same thing 1,000 times. It feels like you're still planted in a part of the world, like you're still going forward, and I really like that. There are still means to have your plants and insects etc. on farm, so you don't have to worry quite so much about stopping for everything while you're out in the world. Overall, my opinion is this is a brilliant game. Now I believe that no game should ever get 10 out of 10, because nothing is entirely perfect, like ever. But this gets pretty damn close for its genre. As such, I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. A few minor niggles, but for the most part, everything you could want in a Monster Hunter is there and done really well. The more I play this, the more I love it, and I know when the PC version finally does launch that myself and the rest of the band are going to have a blast playing this. Right, okay, well that's all I can really think to say at this point in time. I'm done rambling. Thank you very much for watching guys, happy hunting, and we hope to catch you in the next one.